Greetings, mighty companions. Anna Kujawa here. And like I always do on Wednesdays, we are doing a Course in Miracles, the Complete and Annotated Edition. So this is the latest edition of A Course in Miracles. You may have seen it. It's that gigantic purple covered book. And this edition is an edition that was put together by Robert Perry. And the 45,000 words that were left out of the first two editions that came through the scribe Helen Schuckman are in this edition, plus tons and tons of notations from Robert Perry. And so there was so much original material that was left out that was in this that I really wanted to teach it so that I could learn it for myself. Hi, Carrie. Lovely to see you, my dear. I've been thinking about you today. So, can't wait to talk to you. All right, so that's, and Greg says hi too. So, just saying your name, Carrie, got me all hot, got me all warmed up. I gotta take my jacket off. Okay, so, hi sweetie. So, we are doing the annotated edition. I started at chapter 1, section 1, and I've been making my way through for the last 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. And we've been speeding through, and now we're in chapter 5, section 10, and we are in the last section of chapter 5. Maybe we've been on chapter 5 for like a year, I don't know, but wow. Carrie says, great class last night. So, Greg, he says thank you. All right. So, wow, we're in the last section of chapter 5. What a miracle. And the name of this section is called The Decision for God. So that's where we're at. The Complete and Annotated Edition of A Course in Miracles, chapter 5, section 10. And the name of this section is called The Decision for God. Now, as we go through this, I welcome your questions and your comments. I just love them. It makes the class richer and deeper. So freely share, freely ask. I love it. And then we'll just see what happens. I've noticed as I have been transferring my classes to YouTube that I've still got blurriness going on my videos. And I just want you to know that what's really happening with the blurriness, you may think it's Wi-Fi, but the truth is that I'm phasing in and out of this dimension. And so I just want you to know what you're really seeing as you see me go from clear to blurry to blurry to clear, just so that you know. All right, that's what's really going on. All right, and Andrew says, let's learn to raise the dead. All right, that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about as a matter of fact. And who do you suppose that dead is that we are going to raise, or that we're supposed to be raising? I wonder who that could be. You know who that is. All right. Thank you, Carrie. I knew you would appreciate my new and updated interpretation of the blurriness of my videos. And you too, Andrew. You mentioned also, too, the blurriness. So now you know what's really going on. You're just seeing me phase in and out of this dimension. I can't tell you where I go to when I'm phasing out of this dimension and go into the other one. I can't tell you, because your heart is not ready yet, but that's all right. Just know that it's good. So, and the deeper the class gets, the more I start to phase into the other dimension. So now you know what the blurriness really means. All right, so enough of that. So we are on the section called The Decision for God. So we're chapter 5, section 10, Decision for God. First sentence. There have been many healers who did not heal themselves. Period. Okay. Lots of healers, given lots of healing, but they didn't heal themselves. Who could that be?
Like me, like you.
Greg says, like me, like you. Exactly. It's all of us. We're all healers who have not healed ourselves. Okay, that's all of us. These healers have not moved mountains by their faith. Why? maybe they have gotten the right parking spot with their faith, but they haven't moved mountains with their faith. Why? Because their faith was not whole. Their faith was not complete. Okay, so maybe you get that parking spot, but you ain't moving mountains because your faith isn't whole. Now, it says, some of these healers have healed the sick at times, indeed, but these healers have not raised the dead. What? I didn't realize that's what we were supposed to be doing. I'm like, oh crap. I think I failed that pop quiz. You know, I haven't moved mountains. I haven't raised the dead. I have healed the sick at times. I have helped the sick at times, but I haven't raised the dead. That is true. Okay. Now, it says this, now explains why the healer, even though they have healed the sick at times, has not raised the dead. The reason is because unless the healer, us, heals ourself, we don't believe that there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Thank you so much. We thank you so much. All right. So that's why it says that the healers, that we, the healers, may have healed. Why? Because our faith wasn't whole. And what does that mean, that to say that our faith wasn't whole? Here's what it means. It says we don't believe that it says unless we heal ourselves, we don't believe that there's no order in miracles. So unless here we are healers offering healing to the sick, indeed, and have helped the sick in many instances, whether that sickness was body, mind, or spirit. It says, but even though we have offered healing and been healing and helpful to others, we did not heal ourselves. We've been loving and helpful and healing, but we did not heal ourselves. Now, unless the healer heals themselves as well as the others we have offered healing to, then that means we don't believe that there's no order in miracles, right? So here we are healers, but yet we haven't accepted that belief fully, that there's no order in miracles. One miracle is not harder or bigger than another miracle. That's the truth. That's the first principle of A Course in Miracles, that there's no order of difficulty in miracles. There's not one miracle that's harder or bigger than another. But if you haven't allowed the healing for yourself, healers, then you are not going to move mountains and raise the dead by your faith, because you obviously still believe that there's an order of difficulty in miracles. In other words, I believe that the truth applies to you, but not to me. And we're all those kinds of healers. We can easily see that other people are innocent and they deserve miracles and they're beautiful and worthy and lovable, but when it comes to us, that's a whole nother thing. So we believe, which means we believe that miracles apply to them, but not to us. And that's what A Course in Miracles calls an unhealed healer. That's somebody who wants to be loving and helpful to others and sees other people as completely worthy of being healed. But we don't see that for ourselves, okay? That is a healer whose faith isn't whole. Why? Because they left themselves out, okay? So don't be a healer who leaves themselves out, okay? You deserve love, and you deserve love, and you deserve miracles, and you deserve miracles, except for me, okay? That's an unhealed healer. that's a healer whose faith is not complete because they're leaving themselves out of that. All right. Now, in other words, the unhealed healer has not learned that every mind that God created is equally worthy of being healed. Why? Because God created every mind whole, which means complete, including your own. Okay, so that's what we haven't learned as healers and teachers, is that every mind that God created is worthy of being healed, including our own. Wow. And why is that? That's because God created every mind, and God created every mind complete, which means lacking nothing, which means whole. All right. Do I have any unhealed healers in the house? Okay. Okay, there's one hand back there. I think I see Chloe raising her hand, her paw over here. All right. Okay. I know that I am talking to a lot of gifted healers and teachers who truly have healed the sick at times. I know that because I see your name and I know that is you. And here is the time where we, the miracle workers, the healers of humanity, stop making exceptions. Stop leaving yourself out. This is the time. We are being called, the teachers and healers of the world, to stop excluding yourself from the truth and the love and the forgiveness and the healing that you are offering beautifully to everyone else. It's time to include yourself in that, okay? All right. If you're telling everybody, other people, you're innocent, you're entitled to miracles, you deserve love, you're worthy, stop leaving yourself out of that. All right. And then remember what it said, when you stop leaving yourself out, when you stop excluding yourself from the love and the healing that you're offering others, then guess what you're going to be able to do with your faith? You're not only going to be able to move a mountain, which seems incredible, but you'll also be able to raise the dead. Wow. Okay. Pretty fancy, raising the dead. Okay. I have felt like I was dead, and somebody offered me the truth, and I felt like I was raised from the dead. So that's what we can do when our faith is whole, which means no exceptions, no exclusions, including ourselves. All right. Our puppy is doing something wild and crazy out there. So, okay. Hi, Laura. Lovely to see you. And Andrew and Bridget and Steve. Lovely to see your names and to feel your presence. It feels great. Beautiful. Okay. Now we are paragraph 2. As a teacher and a healer, here's what you're asked to do. You are merely asked to return to God, the mind, as God created it. What does that mean? That means God asked you only for what God gave, knowing that this giving will heal you. So all that God isn't saying, I want you to heal the dead and move the mountains and raise the dead. That's not what God is asking, basically. It was just saying that's what you'll be able to do once your faith in miracles is whole, meaning no exceptions. But what God is asking us to do is just to give God back the mind as God created it. Okay? And how is it that God created the mind? God created the mind as whole, which means complete, which means no missing parts, no exceptions. God created our mind as complete, meaning connected to everyone and everything forever. No missing parts to the mind that God created. God created our mind, the mind of the creation of God. God created us whole and complete, meaning no disconnected people, no disconnected parts, no exceptions to the child, the creation that God created. God created us whole and complete, which means as one, no exceptions, no exclusions, no missing people, no missing parts. That's how God created us. That's how God created our mind. Hi, sweetie. What's going on? Hi. And God says, all God is asking is that we return the mind back to God as God created it. So that basically us realizing that there are no exceptions, there are no exclusions. We're all connected. We're all part of the creation of God. No exceptions, no exclusions, including ourselves. So that's all that God asks. And God knows that if we'll give our mind, ourselves back to God as whole, okay, I accept that we're all one. I accept that we're all the same. No exceptions, no exclusions, including myself. I accept that. Oh, cue the phone. Right about this time is when all of the campaign calls, all the campaign calls have been coming in. They know when I teach in class. All right. It says, God knows that as you give back your mind as whole to God, that giving will heal you. In other words, sanity is wholeness. What is sanity is wholeness means? It means the sanity of your brothers and sisters is yours. All right. So sanity, a sane mind, is a mind that knows that all mind is one, and that the laws of love and truth apply to all equally as one. No exceptions, no exclusions, including ourselves and including you know who. And when you know that the truth applies to all of us equally and as one, including yourself, that is when you will have sanity, a sane mind. A sane mind knows the truth about wholeness, completeness, completion. So what this means is that sickness and suffering, whether it's body, mind, or spirit, is the expression of the belief in exclusion and separation. Okay? This person is different from me. Now, I am different from them. What I deserve, they don't deserve. What they have, I don't have. That is exclusion. That is believing that there are exclusions, exceptions, conditions, and differences in the mind that God created as one. So that's what's really going on. When I am sick, body, mind, or spirit, I am literally seeing myself as not the same as others. I'm making exceptions to the loving, forgiving rule. Either the forgiveness doesn't apply to them, or the forgiveness doesn't apply to me. I'm making some kind of differences. I'm seeing some kind of differences in my mind between me and them. Okay? when you're seeing differences, orders of difficulty in miracles, and differences in some people's worthiness for miracles than other people's worthiness for miracles, then your mind is not going to be whole. And when your mind is not whole, then you will not be experiencing sanity. All right. So, if you're sick in any way, shape, or form, body, mind, or spirit, tell yourself that is because I am what? It's because I am not seeing all minds as equally worthy of being healed. I'm not seeing all minds as equally worthy of love and forgiveness and miracles. I'm making some kind of exception. They don't deserve miracles because they stole my parking spot. Or I don't deserve miracles because I forgot about that meeting I had today. So obviously I don't deserve miracles. Okay, that's what a mind that is not experiencing wholeness, which means sanity, experiences. Okay, so where are you making exceptions in worthiness for healing in your life? Where is it that you are experiencing not sanity, not health and wellness? All right, how you guys doing out there? Beautiful. Hi, Jean. Lovely to see you as well. All right. Yeah, you know where it is that you're making that exception. Like, I deserve love and miracles, but they don't because you know what they did. So they deserve judgment. Now, I totally deserve forgiveness and miracles, but they don't. Or they deserve miracles and love, but I don't. Where is it that you're making that exception in your life right now? Well, it'll be very easy to find that when you realize that it's wherever you've got a grievance going on or wherever there's suffering happening. It's wherever your faith doesn't seem to be up to the task at hand. Alrighty, here we go. It says, why should you listen to the endless, insane calls which you think are made upon you when you know the voice for God Himself is in you? Interesting question. So let's hear that question. So when you know that the voice for God is within you, then why should you listen to all the insane ego calls that are being made upon you? So according to this, and also we know it's true from our experience, we've got endless, insane calls that are being made upon us, right? Come judge this. Come judge that. Come make exception here. Come judge this. Come judge that. Come sacrifice. Okay? There's endless, insane calls that are being made upon us all day long. Come waste your time on something meaningless. Come value and worship and pay for something that's completely meaningless. Come judge this. Go feel guilty about that. The endless, insane calls which are made upon you every day. Okay? Isn't the ego calling you up, making all kinds of insane, endless calls on you all day long to judge and feel guilty and be afraid and be busy and do this and sacrifice like that? You got to do this, you got to do that, right? And this is asking the question, why should you listen to all those endless, insane calls being made upon you all day when you know that the voice for God, the voice for truth, the voice for love is in you?
That's what those last two phone calls were.
Exactly. That those phone calls were endless, insane, part of the endless, insane calls that are made upon me each day. Okay? Now, if I don't know, if I am denying that the voice for love and truth is within me, then I'm going to take all those calls and I'm going to take them seriously, and I'm going to waste my precious time here on those insane calls that are endless. Even if you put your name on the do not call list, which I have done, you still get those insane calls that are made upon you all day long. Okay? And the only reason you'd be willing to waste your precious time and energy on those endless insane calls being made upon you all day is because you're denying or forgetting that the voice for God is within you and can be heard. And when you remember that and you realize that, you won't waste your time on those endless and insane calls every day. Wow. Okay, great. So, how do we know that the voice for God and truth is in us? How do we know that? Well, we know it because it says God commended God's Spirit to you. That's how we know that the voice for God is within you. God commended His Spirit to you. Wow, it's like, here's my spirit, I commend it to you, is what God did to us. So God's Spirit, God's voice is within us. Now, so God commended God's Spirit to us, and God is asking that we commend our spirit to God. Wow. Oh, okay. So God is saying, I commended my spirit into you, and I ask that you commend your spirit to me. Commend your spirit into my hands. That's what God is asking. So then we would go, okay, God, I commend my spirit into your hands. All right. Sounds good, like a good plan. And the reason why it's a good idea to commend your spirit into God's hands is why? Because God wills to keep your spirit in perfect peace. All right. So yeah, would you like to have your spirit remain and be kept in perfect peace? Can you imagine that? A spirit where your spirit lives and resides in perfect peace. Your spirit is kept in perfect peace, no matter what's going on, no matter all the endless, insane calls that are made upon you every day, and your spirit can be kept in peace for you. Apparently, that is what God, our Creator, wills to do with your spirit. Wow. And that is why it's a good idea to say, okay, you want me to commend my spirit to you into your hands, God? I think I'll do that, even though I have no idea what that means. So that's one of my favorite meditation exercises when I'm meditating, is where I just say, God, I commend my spirit into your hands. I commend my spirit into your hands. And that's the best thing you can do, because God wills to keep your spirit in perfect peace. So if you give it to God, your spirit, God's going to keep it in perfect peace. Now, what's perfect peace? That means a peace that has no exceptions and no exclusions, which means your spirit is kept in peace no matter what's going on, no matter what crazy, insane stuff seems to be making demands on you throughout your day. And we know that there's some crazy stuff every day, all day. Some crazy, insane demands and calls that are made upon us every day. Okay? Now, It says, the reason it's a good idea to commend your spirit into God's hands is because God wills to keep your spirit in perfect peace. Why? Why does God want your spirit to be in perfect peace? Because you're of one mind and spirit with God. That's why God wants to keep your spirit in perfect peace, because you share a spirit with God. And so God's like, we share a spirit, so I really am invested in your spirit being in peace because we share a spirit, okay? It's like Aria sharing my car, and it's like, hey, we're sharing a car here, so it is in both of our best interest to keep that car in good shape, okay? So God wants to keep your spirit in perfect peace because you share a spirit with God. So God's invested in the peace of your spirit. So if you are going through something right now where you really have got some insane calls being made upon you, whether it's from the world or your ego, this would be a good time to remember that you can experience peace. Peace that without exception, meaning no matter what's going on. And the way to do that is, no matter what's going on, commend your spirit into God's hands. Okay? That's the way to have peace, no matter what's going on. Beautiful. Trish says, I've had peace through this cancer and surgery. It feels so peaceful. Perfect example of that, Trisha. Perfect example that even while you're going through cancer, your spirit can be kept in peace. Why? Because you've commended your spirit into God's hands. And God, God who's pretty powerful, is able to keep your spirit in perfect peace, even though you were going through cancer and cancer treatment and all the stuff that goes along with that. And a noisy baby. Nikita, noisy baby. Daddy's gonna throw you out. Out you go. Out you go, noisy babies. Go on. All right. Speaking of endless, insane calls that are made on us all day long, these dogs got to go out, in and out all day long. All right. Andrew says, God, I commend my spirit into your hands. That is the way to do it. Okay. And remember, we're talking about God here. So whatever God wills is possible, right? So this is a way to have peace no matter what's going on. All right, even if the dogs are going in and out and the phones are ringing, or cancer or conflict, it doesn't matter. Remember, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. All miracles are the same. They are of the same order. One miracle is not bigger than another. One miracle is not more difficult than another. Is that all? And the reason that there's no order of difficulty in miracles and healings is because every mind is equally worthy of being healed. And now, did it say every mind? Every mind. That includes you. And that includes every person, no matter how insane their ego is. Because their ego is just as insane as your ego is insane. The ego is insane, whether it's in you or a serial killer out there. So that is the truth about miracles. Now, as teachers and healers for humanity, that's what we're teaching. That's what we're teaching to others. The issue here is that we forget to include ourselves in that. But as teachers and healers of humanity, that is the lesson that we are teaching to earth and working on accepting for ourselves. So that's our work. Okay, beautiful. Tricia says, but my miracle is they got it all. No chemo, no radiation. Indeed, Tricia, absolutely. That's a perfect demonstration of the truth that you are worthy equally as all other minds of being healed. When you accept that all minds are equally worthy of being healed, including you, then what happens is your faith moves mountains. Or in Trisha's case, your case, then the cancer is gone and you had no chemo and no radiation. When we accept and teach and accept and practice for ourselves as well, that all minds are equally worthy of being healed, that every mind is equally worthy of miracles of healing, then our faith moves mountains and our faith will raise the dead. So that's what we're doing as teachers and healers for mankind. And I know many of you on here, and I know that you guys are doing that. You guys are beautiful, magnificent demonstrations that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. And I know that for many of you and most of you who are on this broadcast right now, because I've heard your miracle story and you've heard mine. So I know that you are all beautiful, beautiful demonstrations of these ideas. I've seen the kinds of stuff that your faith has produced, the mountains that your faith has moved. So beautiful. Tricia says, I believe in this course. Amen to that. Nothing like a little cancer experience where you apply the truth to it, Tricia, to make you believe in this course. I was sharing last week that it was going through a devastating breakup many years ago, that where I applied the truth to this extraordinary pain that I was going through, that convinced me of the power of this course. In other words, as I applied the ideas to what I was going through, no exception, my faith moved mountains of grievances and pain out of my way. And I became a true believer in these ideas. So, right, I love it. Tricia says, mind and body separate. Yes, indeed. All right. Whew, it is getting warm in here. I'm turning off the heater. I don't know if it's the truth or it's a hot flash, but Lordy. Okay. That's something I need to apply the truth to as well. Hot flashes. Okay. Now, it says, paragraph 3. It says, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay if she barks out there. Better out there than in here. Okay. Paragraph 3. Excluding yourself from the miracle principles is the ego's last-ditch defense of its own existence. Alrighty. So that's something you may notice within yourself. It's just another way of expressing what we've been talking about. Excluding yourself from these miracle principles. Okay? So in other words, I apply it to you, and I can teach it to you, and I can tell you what to do, and I can tell you about it, and I can teach it to you. But when it comes to me, it don't apply to me. When it comes to me, grievances are real. Separation is real. Okay? That's called excluding yourself from these miracle principles. They apply to everybody else, but not to us. That's excluding ourselves from the miracle principles. Now, this is saying that that's the last ditch attempt of the ego. That's the ego. That's the ego's. It's an ego maneuver. That's the ego maneuvering. It's the ego's last ditch defense of its own existence. So the ego's like, okay, fine. You want to be a Course in Miracles teacher, whatever. Okay, so teach them the Course in Miracles like this, and demonstrate, teach them the Course in Miracles like this, and teach the principles like this, and teach the Course in Miracles principles like this. But when it comes to your own crap, no. I'm not going to apply these principles to me. Okay? That is the ego's last ditch attempt to what? To save itself. Now, can you guys relate to what I'm talking about? I love it. So that's the ego's, when the ego feels threatened, that's what it's going to pull up as its last ditch defense. So that everything you've been teaching other people about miracle principles, when you need them, you don't apply them to yourself. You're like, oh, that doesn't apply to me. Forgiveness isn't the answer to me, for me. When I'm upset, that's real. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. That's just for you when I'm teaching it to you. That is the ego's last ditch defense to save itself. So excluding yourself from what you're teaching to others is the way the ego is going its last ditch attempt to save itself. So that's part of the learning program as teachers and healers. Is that at some point on the journey and the path as a teacher and a healer, you're going to come up against the realization that, oh, I'm teaching these principles to them, but when it comes to my stuff, I'm not applying it. Okay, I'm not applying it to myself. I'm only applying it when it comes to teaching it to others. So, and that is a stage and a phase that all teachers and healers will go through in their profession as teachers and healers. Okay? We have a profession, and our profession is teaching and healing. And of course, in Miracles is the curriculum for those whose profession is teaching and healing, that all minds are equally worthy of being healed, because all minds are one. Just like our minds are one with Source Mind. So that's what we're teaching. We're teaching oneness, okay? We're teaching oneness. Your mind and my mind are one. Your mind and my mind are connected. And my mind and Source Mind are one. And that's what we're teaching. And why is it that we're teaching it? Because we don't know it, because we haven't learned it. So we're teaching unity, we're teaching oneness, we're teaching wholeness, but we're tempted to leave ourselves out of that. That's our temptation, and that's what we're learning how not to do as teachers and healers. So at some point, every teacher and healer will be like, wow, I've been teaching really good. I've been teaching these principles really good. Everybody I meet, I tell them they're innocent. Everybody I meet, I tell them you're entitled to miracles. And everybody I meet, I say we're one. But when it comes to me, then I've kind of been excluding myself from that, right? I tell myself, there is no sin, there is no guilt, but then when it comes to my upset, then yeah, oh yeah, sin is real. Sin is real, okay? That's what it means to be excluding yourself from what you're teaching to others. And we all do it, If we could truly see that all minds created by love are equally worthy of being healed, and we weren't making exceptions for ourselves or anyone else, then we wouldn't need a Course in Miracles. So we're all doing it, and we're all innocent. We're all learning. We're all on the path of learning the truth by teaching the truth. Okay? We're not teaching the truth because we've mastered the truth. We're teaching the truth of there's no order of difficulty in miracles because we need to learn it. So of course, we're not perfect in terms of applying to ourselves everything that we're teaching to others. That's what it means to have a split mind or to be an unhealed healer. So don't judge yourself as a teacher of healer just because your faith isn't complete in the truth. You know, we're working toward that. If I could have complete faith in the truth in every situation, including myself at all times, I wouldn't need A Course in Miracles. So don't judge yourself for having incomplete faith, meaning making exceptions. And don't judge other people for having split minds and being unhealed healers as well. Okay? We're all the same in that. That's why we're here. That's why we're students of A Course in Miracles. Okay? If our faith was whole and complete and we weren't making any exceptions or exclusions in the truth, then we wouldn't need this course. So I just share that with you so that you'll continue to move forward at a increased pace as a teacher and a healer of humanity, without slowing yourself down with the guilt for not having your faith be whole, not being a perfect teacher, or for still giving other people guilt and judgment for them not being perfect teachers and healers as well, their faith not being whole. All right? And I speak from experience, so you can trust what I'm saying. All right. Irene says, good morning, mighty companions, indeed. And Demi says, I needed to hear this tonight, excluding myself, but preach. Yes, yes. We're all like that. I mean, truly, if you were to sit down, if you were to go live with, just pick out any of your favorite truth teachers. Just name any one of them, okay? Name any of your favorite truth teachers. Eckhart Tolle, Marianne Williamson, there's all kinds of them. And you were to go live with them for a month, maybe even a week, you would see what we're talking about how they too, their faith is not perfect. They are still excluding their own selves from what they are teaching and preaching. And you'd see that. You'd be like, I just spent a week with Eckhart Tolle, and let me tell you, he was not practicing perfectly everything he teaches. Okay? That's what you would see. And if someone came to stay with you who have been teaching very well these principles, they would say the same thing about you. She don't apply that to herself like she applies it to everybody else. That's what we see when we spend any significant amount of time with each other, especially in each other's homes. All right. I love it. And it says, Andy says it's time to start, what does it say? Not including myself, no shame. The next step is here. Beautiful, exactly. And Tricia says, I will always need the Course of Miracles until my last breath. Me too, girl. Hi, Bitsy. Lovely to see you. And Irene says, I meant good evening. LOL. I'm like, what dimension is Irene coming from? All right. Okay. Beautiful. Whoo-wee. Now, where are we? Okay, so paragraph 3. So we're in the annotated edition, chapter 5, section 10, the decision for God. And paragraph 3 says, excluding yourself from the healing and teaching that you're giving to everybody else, that's your ego's last-ditch defense of your ego's own existence. So like we were saying, the ego's like, okay, fine. Go ahead and tell these ideas to everybody. Be the teacher healer, whatever. But don't apply them to yourself. Exclude yourself from all that you're teaching to everybody else. That's the ego's last-ditch attempt to keep itself in business. Now, the ego, excluding yourself from these miracle principles that you're teaching and offering to others, this reflects both your ego's need to separate and your willingness to side with the ego's separateness. Okay? So the reason why you're willing to exclude yourself, make yourself the exception from what you're teaching to everybody else, is because the ego wants to be separate. It doesn't want to include yourself in everything you're teaching. And so it reflects the ego's desire to be separate, but it also reflects your willingness to side with your ego. Okay? So your ego goes, well, I am teaching this to everyone else. It doesn't apply to me. That's you also, your willingness to side with your ego's separateness. Your ego wants to be separate. Your ego don't want to be one. Your ego doesn't want to be the same as everybody. You know, your ego wants to be special. It wants to be different. These ideas are for them, but I don't need them. Or these ideas are for them, but not for me. That's your ego wanting to keep the idea of separation going, and you fall for it because you are willing to, at that point, side with your ego's separateness. You still have a temptation for separateness, which means you are still tempted by specialness, which means you are still tempted, I am still tempted by differences. Okay, I'm not like them, or they're not like me. I'm different. Now, I'm of course a miracles teacher. You know, obviously I don't have to apply them to myself. I'm different. That's our remaining temptation that we all have as teachers and healers of mankind. Our last ditch attempt to remain separate is to make exceptions and to see ourselves as different from those to whom we are offering these miracle principles. All right. And you see it all the time. You see it all the time in great spiritual masters and teachers around the world. You know, you see that, my God, what a spiritual genius, what a healing genius, what a spiritual master. But then their private life, boom, explodes onto the front page of the newspaper. How does that happen? It's because this person had profound healing, spiritual teaching, healing gifts, but they were not including themselves. They were excluding themselves from the miracle principles, the truth, the healing that they were offering to others. And then that temptation to exclude themselves from that then shows up on the front page of the newspaper. Well, I don't want mine to show up on the front page of the newspaper. So I'm telling you right now, that we are not different. That we are absolutely not different. I want to stop excluding myself from the miracle principles that I am teaching. I have not accepted these either. That's why, just like Tricia said, I need a Course in Miracles to my last breath. Me too. Because I know that I still need healing, because I see that I am still trying to exclude myself from these principles that I'm teaching and sharing with others. All right. Now, it says this willingness, our willingness to side with our ego's exclusion, this willingness means that you do not want to be healed. Wow. So if I'm still excluding myself from the miracle principles that I'm sharing, what does that mean? It means I don't really want to be healed myself. I don't really want to be healed. I may want to be a healer and a teacher, but that doesn't mean automatically that you want to be healed. That's an interesting concept. It says, in the past, even though you wanted release or healing, you were not able to cope with the healing or the release at that time. Very interesting. This right here is something that was edited out. So I just want you to hear this. It's in the edited versions, it does say your willingness to exclude yourself from the teaching and healing you're offering to others means that you're willing to side with your ego's separateness. It does say that. But what it left out was, or what it edited out was, this means you don't want to be healed. I'm not applying to myself what I'm teaching to and offering to others. What does that mean? It says that means you don't want to be healed. Interesting. So, interesting concept. Just because I'm offering these concepts to others, that don't necessarily automatically mean that I want to be healed. It may mean that I really like the ideas, and I like the idea of being a teacher and a healer, and I like the specialness or whatever, but I don't want to be healed. If I'm not going to apply it to myself, if I'm going to exclude myself from what I'm teaching others, what it really means is I don't want to be healed. And then it goes on in the next sentence to say why it was you didn't want to be healed in the past. Okay? Do you know why it is you didn't want to be healed in the past? Do you know why it is you're willing to exclude yourself, meaning not apply the truth you were teaching to others to yourself? Here's the reason. In the past, you, even though you may have wanted healing or thought you wanted healing, you weren't able to cope with the healing yourself at the time. Very interesting. Very interesting. I didn't apply it to myself. I made exclusions and exceptions for myself in the past because I couldn't cope with my own healing at the time. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. What do you mean I couldn't cope with my own healing? Like, oh, I'm all about healing others, but I couldn't cope with the idea of accepting my own healing. Now, this right here, that was left out of the first two editions. It says, in the past, you weren't able to cope with the release that your own healing would have brought. Okay, interesting. What do you mean I wasn't able to cope with my own healing at the time, meaning in the past? Well, for instance, let's say in the past, if I had been healed of my fear and my shame and my guilt and my belief in my inadequacy, if I had been healed or released from that in the past, then where would my leverage be? Where would my perception of power in the situation be? Who would do what I wanted them to do if I wasn't hurting and wasn't giving guilt? Okay, so in the past, I couldn't cope with the idea of giving up my guilt and shame because I thought that I would have no power whatsoever. In any given situation, I'd have no protection. I'd have no strength. What if I let go of what if I was healed of my anger? You know, I couldn't cope with the release from my anger. I couldn't cope with the healing of that because how am I going to be safe? How am I going to protect myself? How am I going to get my way? You know, how am I going to have any power in this situation if I let go of attack? Okay, how am I going to get people to do what I want them to do if I let go of giving guilt and accept the healing of that? Wow. So to me, that's what it means when it says, even though you wanted healing, you were not able to cope with the healing of your own ego at that time, right? So it's like, yeah, I want the healing of my anger and my guilt and my sickness, but I really can't cope with the idea of that because I'm too afraid that I'll be left defenseless without my sickness or my anger or my attack thoughts. So it says, but the time is now. So maybe you couldn't cope with the healing of your ego and your guilt and your anger and your sickness in the past, even though you were teaching healing from all those things in the past, even though you couldn't cope with your own healing of that for yourself in the past. But the time is now. Period. The time is now. For what? To accept the healing of your own ego, your own anger, your own sickness, your own fear, your own shame. Even though you couldn't cope with the healing and the release of it in the past, even though you were teaching that to others. That sentence, but the time is now, was also edited out of the first 2 editions. Okay. And I think that that is an extremely important sentence. But the time is now. Maybe you couldn't cope with the healing of your own crap in the past that you were teaching everybody else how to heal from. But the time is now. What does that mean, the time is now? The time is now to apply the truth that you've been teaching to everybody else, to yourself. Now. The time is now. So that's what time it is. So whatever you've been teaching to others, miracles, innocence, guiltlessness, you're entitled to miracles, you're worthy, love is freedom, you're free, you're innocent, whatever it is you've been teaching to everybody else and doing a very good job of it, I might add, it's time to apply it to yourself. It's time to really apply it to yourself. That's what time it is. All right. I love it. Demi says, maybe not able to have the timing or capacity at that time. Exactly. You couldn't cope with it. And that's a beautiful way of saying it, Demi, that you didn't have the capacity at that time to handle it. It's true. At the time, in the past, it may have been that truly you didn't have the awareness to know that if you let go of your anger or the attack, that you would be safe. And so you couldn't truly cope with the release from those aspects of your ego. And hey, maybe that's true. But the time is now. The time is now. Now, I wonder why they edited that out, but notice that that sentence, the time is now, is in this edition now, at this time. And I don't know, I'm kind of looking around at the world here in 2020, and I can definitely see that the time is now. I can totally see that. All right, the time is now. Beautiful. Hi, Pam and Doug Smith. Lovely to see you, both of your names, and feel your energy. Beautiful. Paragraph 3. And how are we doing on time? Speaking of time. Oh, look, the time is now. That's what it says on my watch. It says now. How about you? What's it say on your watch? All right. Now, we're on paragraph 4. So we're annotated edition, chapter 5, section 10, and now we're going into paragraph 4. So the time is now. That's good news. That's maybe that's scary news. But it says, but you have not been asked to work out the plan of healing yourself. So the time is now to apply the truth to your own ego, your own crap. And you don't have to work out that healing plan yourself. So you don't have to figure out how to come up with the plan of applying the truth to yourself. You don't have to come up with that plan by yourself. Hallelujah. Why? Because as I told you before, our teacher says, the remedy for what you have made is not of your own making. All right. So yes, our teacher is always telling us that the remedy for what you have made is not of your own making. Okay? So you made up something called, well, it doesn't apply to me. I will teach it and give it to everybody else, but it doesn't apply to me. So I don't apply it to myself. And so now my faith doesn't move mountains. Okay? Says, so the remedy for that exclusion that you've been doing with yourself, the remedy for the exclusion problem is not of your own making. Isn't that beautiful? So you made the problem, a spirit makes the answer. Don't forget that. Okay? Don't be looking to yourself who made the problem for the answer. You made the problem called exclusion, exception. We're different. I'm special. It may apply to you, but it doesn't to me. That's the problem we made. But the remedy for that exclusion is not of our making. So don't worry. You haven't been asked to work out the answer by yourself. Wonderful. And the reason why you don't have to work out the remedy for yourself for what you made is because God Himself gave you the perfect correction for everything you have made, which is not in accord with God's loving will. Beautiful. Thank you, God. I'm going to say that again. I love it. I love Trisha's answer. Trisha says, I want to study more. Now, Trisha, that lets me know that I know you heard what I'm saying, okay? Same thing when Andrew was here. He was like, what did I get from the week? I need to study more. That tells me that you really heard what all was said, okay? Now, I love what it's saying here that, and I want to say it again, I want us to hear that God Himself gave you the perfect correction for everything you have made, which is not in accord with God's loving will. So, hallelujah. That means whatever it is that you have made that is not loving, that is not healthy, that is not healing, that is not happy, God has given you the perfect correction for whatever you have made that is not in accord with God's loving will or God's loving plan. That is the ultimate reminder, and it's the ultimate answer, because that means no matter what I have made for myself, no matter what impossible jam I feel I have put myself in, God has given me the perfect correction for whatever I have made. The Course in Miracles says, your problem may be foolproof, but it's not God-proof, because God has given you the perfect correction. So no matter what problem I've made for myself, no matter how impossible it may seem to me, I could say, God, I ask for your perfect correction for what I have made that is not in accordance with your loving will for me. I ask for your perfect correction for what I have made that is not loving and not healthy and not happy and not abundant. I ask you, God, for your perfect correction for what I have made that is hurting me or someone else. Now, that is a prayer that you better believe that if you start praying that prayer, that things are going to happen, miraculous things that seem to defy the laws of space and time. Okay, could you use some of those right now? That's the prayer to pray. Whoo-wee. So I'm going to take a breath and take some water. I love it. Hi, Deborah. Lovely to see you. I love Trisha's comment. I want to study more. That's exactly what I always come up with, Trisha, whenever I read the course. Or it's like, yeah, I need to study more. I definitely need to study. After every class, that's exactly the thought I have. I need to study more. Demi says, God has given me the perfect correction. Demi says, we don't have to feel guilty and waste our days with jammed up negativity. Exactly. Well said, Demi. You have such a wonderful way with words, Demi. I have noticed. All right. Okay. And then our teacher now is speaking to us, and our teacher says, I have made God's plan perfectly clear, which means perfectly explicit to you. And I've also told you that your part in God's plan, I've told you of your part in God's plan, and I've also told you how urgent it is that you fulfill it. Period, says our teacher. Beautiful. Thank you. So our teacher is saying here, I've explicitly told you of your part in God's plan. Okay, our teacher is saying, I have made clear to you love's plan. I have made very explicit and clear to you your part in God's plan. And I've also told you how urgent it is that you fulfill your part in God's plan. So our teacher wants us to remember that. And so then the next line our teacher says is, there is time for delay. There is time for delay, but there need not be time for delay. The time is now. You can use time for delay because that's really what time is, but there's no need for delay. The time is now. You taking your part in the healing plan of mankind is urgent. It's urgent that you fulfill your part in God's healing plan for mankind. It's urgent. The time is now. You can use time to delay if you want to, because that's what time is. Time was made so we can delay. But the time is now, and there's no need for delay. There's no need for delay in you taking your part in God's healing plan of mankind. And you don't have to be able to fulfill it perfectly. You don't have to be able to fulfill your part perfectly for you to take it and for you to fulfill it. Why? Because really it's higher mind, Holy Spirit, who's really doing it for you. Okay? All we need to do is apply to ourselves what we are teaching and offering to everybody else. Dang. Stop leaving yourself out of what you're teaching to everybody else. All right. Greg, do you remember what it was you were saying the other day about time and delay? Like time that once we've decided we can have it now, we don't need to have time. Do you remember that when we were talking to Andrew and Laura? It was really profound. It was really profound. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, you know, not only are we not applying to ourselves the thing we're teaching to others, we can't even remember, for real. I hear people all the time saying to me, like, just this week, my clients have been like, I remember what you said last week, and I've been working it up and applying it, and it's been changed my life, and I have no recall whatsoever of what, I'm like, what was that I said? I had a client a couple of weeks ago, and my client said, yeah, I applied the 3 criteria that you gave me for knowing if this relationship was in accordance with God's will for me, and it totally produced this person that just all fits, and it's just been better and better and better. And I said, what was that? Like, what were those criteria I said? I had no recall. And so not only is talking about applying to yourself what you're telling everybody else, I can't even remember what I said. I can't even remember what I taught. So somehow God has given us this correction, this corrective thing that is going to enable us to stop excluding ourselves from the truth that we're teaching and giving to other people, the love that we're giving to other people, but not to ourselves. And I'm guessing that that what's included in that is that we even remember the love and the truth that we have offered to others. So good, beautiful. Demi says, so profound, I forgot. Exactly. Beautiful. Okay, so I want you to hear that one more time, and then we're going to go on to paragraph 5. So remember, we're in the annotated edition of Course in Miracles, chapter 5, section 10, and now we're finishing up paragraph 4. Hi, sweetie pie. Hello. Say hi. Hi, everybody. All right. Okay, so our teacher says this. Our teacher says, I have made God's plan perfectly clear and perfectly explicit to you. Okay, great. And our teacher says, and I have also told you of your part in God's plan. And our teacher says, I have also told you how urgent it is that you fulfill your part in God's plan for the healing of mankind. Okay, great. That's a beautiful description of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is an expression or an outline of our teacher showing us and telling us what God's will is, what God's plan is for our individual healing and also the healing of mankind and the planet. That, and A Course in Miracles also is a reminder of how urgent our part is in this healing plan of mankind. Okay, so that's what A Course in Miracles, that's one expression or description of A Course in Miracles. That's something you'll find as you study A Course in Miracles. Oh, here's God's plan for not only my healing, but also the healing of the world. Okay, all right, I see the plan that God has given to us. All right, thank you, God. And also made explicitly our part. So here's God's plan for the healing of mankind. It's all based in forgiveness and correct perception. And our teacher through A Course in Miracles has made very explicit to us what our part is in that global healing plan for all of mankind, and not excluding ourselves from that. And also our teacher in A Course in Miracles is reminding us all through the curriculum how urgent it is that we take our part in this global collective healing plan of mankind and not excluding ourselves from that. Now, then he says, there is time for delay. There is time for delay because that's what time is. Time means delay. Time, I think this is what Greg was saying that I just remembered last week. Greg had this profound thing where he was saying that time is like if you're not willing to accept what is so now, if you're not willing to accept eternity, which is now, everything is here right now, then here comes time. Time is an illusion that enables you to perceive that what is eternal is not happening right now. So that's what time is. Time is a trick. Time is a sleight of hand. Time is a vast illusion whose purpose is to make us think that what we have right now forever, we're going to have to either wait for in the future or mourn that we lost it in the past. That's what time was made to do, to make us feel like we don't have everything now. When the truth is that what creation gave us, we all have now and forever, period. And the ego that doesn't want that, the ego that would be annihilated by that fact, came up with time, where you gotta wait for something in the future and hope maybe you'll have it, or you can mourn the loss of it in the past where you never can get back to it. Okay? So that's why the ego came up with the concept that we call time. All right, I'm gonna take a breath and take a drink. Okay, how are we doing out there? Trisha says 5, 10, 4. What does that mean? What does that mean, Trisha? Andrew says, time is a way to measure the distance between me and happiness. I love it. All right. Well, Andrew, you were there. What did Greg say that was so cool about time and eternity? But I like what you're saying. Andrew's saying time is a way to measure the distance between me and happiness. Right. Okay. Very good. So time is how much delay that I want between me and happiness. So however much I decide that I need to wait to be happy, that's me making time. All right. Time means this is how long I want to delay happiness. All right. Says there is time for delay, but there need not be. And then it says something really deep about God. So listen to this. It says God weeps at the so-called sacrifice of God's children who believe they are lost to God. Wow. And the one more thing that you must learn is merely that you are not the one more. The one more thing. Now I'm going to read Robert Perry's footnote here. This is good. So that's what's unique about this edition of A Course in Miracles. There's all these footnotes by Robert Perry, who's a brilliant Course in Miracles scholar. I've been reading his work for years. And so the line is this. God weeps at the, quote, sacrifice of God's children who believe they are lost to him. The one more thing that you must learn is merely that you are not the one more. Okay, what does that mean? And obviously that was edited out. This was originally directed at Bill as another reference to Bill's belief that he was somehow excluded from the family of God. In this case, it refers to Bill Thetford's belief that he was standing outside of the family of God, that there was the family of God and then there was one more, him. All right. So that reference was to Bill Thetford, who helped the scribe Helen Schuckman bring this material through. And apparently, Bill Thetford did have this belief that he was somehow excluded or special from the whole family of God. That there was the family of God and then there was him, like he was special, like it's all for everybody else, but not for me because I am whatever. Now, this is saying that when you exclude yourself from the will of love, the will of God, as if God wants everybody else to be happy but you, or that God has taken care of everybody else but you, says God weeps at you believing that you gotta exclude yourself or you're somehow not included. Just like if I had several children and one of my children felt that they weren't included in my love, I would feel deep sadness at that. If you have several friends, loved ones, and one of them feels like they are somehow outside of your love, that feels sad to you. And this is saying that our Creator, our Father, Mother, God, Source, feels deep sadness. It weeps when we feel like that we're not included, that the universe's love and support is for everybody else, but not for me, not for us. So, interesting idea about our Source, Father, Mother, God, actually weeping when we don't see ourselves as included in its love for us. Wow. So it says, you are both one and at one. So you're not left out. No matter what you think about yourself, no matter what mistakes, no matter what past you have that you think makes you somehow excluded or left out of the universal will for love and abundance for all. You can't be left out of that loving will for all. You are one and at one. You are both one and at one with all of creation, and you can't exclude yourself. You can't make yourself an exception to the rule. The rule is love. The rule is universal love for all. Our Creator, Father, Mother, God, Source, according to A Course in Miracles, loves all of its creations equally and as one, forever, no exceptions, no exceptions, no exclusions. Now, you are tempted to make exclusions. I am tempted to make exclusions exceptions. We all hear in A Course in Miracles that God loves all of God's creations equally and as one forever. But we are still tempted to make exceptions of ourselves. So that when I make a mistake, all of a sudden now I have guilt and shame, as if now I've excluded myself, that now I'm not worthy of that universal love. And that's my temptation as a child of God and as a teacher of God, is to leave myself out and make an exception of myself when I am mistaken. And that's my temptation, and that's where I'm still learning, and that's where we're still learning. And that's what this is saying, that you can't leave yourself out of that, no matter what you think you've done, no matter what kind of past that you think you've had, no matter what mistake you've made. You're still not an exception to that universal rule of love. What'd you say?
Even if you're Keith.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Even if you're Keith Raniere. Yes. So we're remembering for our brother Keith Raniere, who we saw on the news today, that there is no mistake that he can make or that we can make that excludes us from the universal rule of the universal love that is our Father, Mother, God source. Hallelujah. All right. Now, if you will learn this truth now, then you will be willing in accord with the last judgment, which is really only the biblical reminder of the inevitability of self-inclusion. Beautiful. All right, so that's what we're learning here as teachers and healers of mankind. The inevitability of self-inclusion. Wow. I'm going to say that again. This also was left out of the first two editions. It's so exciting reading and studying this material that was left out of the first two editions that I studied for 30 freaking years to see, oh, yes, that's what really came through. It's so beautiful. Oh my God, 8:30. Wow. So I'll just wrap up with that and that concept, the inevitability of self-inclusion. I love it. I already voted. Leave me alone. Okay. So it's saying this, that here's what, for you and me to take our part in the healing plan of mankind, what that entails, according to this, is us once and for all including ourselves in the truth and the love and the teaching and the healing that we have dedicated ourselves to offering. You know, we, the teachers and healers of mankind, have devoted ourselves to giving love, to giving truth to mankind. You're innocent. You're entitled to miracles. You're worthy. You are love. It's all good. We're all one. These are the things that is the first part of our function as healers and teachers and ministers of mankind. But we've kind of, the thing that we have, the thing that we have been falling down on is that we left ourselves out of that. We've been excluding ourselves from that, leaving ourselves out of that, making exceptions of ourself. So, you know, we say to everybody, you're entitled to miracles, you're innocent, you're safe, we're one, there is no loss, there is no death, we are not separate, we're one. But then when it came to ourselves, we were not including ourselves in that truth, which was preventing us from fulfilling fully our function as healers and teachers and ministers to the planet, to Earth, to humanity. And so our teacher is addressing this, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but we're in chapter 5. So this is the beginning, basically. We're still in the beginning phase of our profession as teachers and healers. And so this is the early part of our teacher and healer training curriculum, where our teacher is reminding us about what is holding us back or holding us down from truly fulfilling our function as the light of the world, the teachers and the healers of humanity and planet Earth, okay? So that's what we're learning how to do in this section. Now, we're going to stop here for today, and then next week, next section, we're going to start back at paragraph number 7. All right. So it was great. We did 6 paragraphs. That's pretty good. And almost finished. There's only, how many more paragraphs? There's only 2 more paragraphs of the whole section. So what a miracle. All right. And then next week we will finish chapter 5, which we've been in for, I don't know, probably a year or so. So beautiful. Hi, Lee. Lovely to see you. And Demi says, by the way, I sent an expression check to Miracle Park 2 weeks ago to the concert map address listed. Okay. Thank you, dear. I haven't seen that. So thank you for letting me know about that. And I'll look for that. Thank you so much. Did you hear that, Greg?
Yeah, I did.
That's
Thank you, Demi.
Yeah, Greg says thank you, Demi. How beautiful. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so now we're going to stop here, and next week we'll start back up at paragraph 7. And I just love that you have used your precious time to join this healing circle that we co-create whenever we come together to listen to these incredibly world-healing, self-healing ideas. I appreciate that so much. And again, if you weren't here at the beginning of class, I was explaining to the folks who were here at the beginning of class why it is that sometimes the video of me is blurry and sometimes it's not. So the reason sometimes this video is blurry and sometimes it's not is because that's really just me phasing in and out of this dimension according to the depth of the concept. So now whenever you see the blurriness, just know that that's what's really going on. Oh, she's phasing in and out again. Oh, see how she is? So just so you know. And someday we'll have video that's not blurry. And it's just like it said, you know, the reason you don't have completely clear video footage is because you couldn't cope with it. To me, I couldn't cope with it if it was 100% pristine, crystal clear. Apparently I couldn't cope with that, and that's why it hasn't happened yet. So I forgive myself. I'm still learning. I'm still learning that everything that I have been teaching to other people about their worthiness and their innocence and their guiltlessness actually applies to me too. Who knew? So thank you guys for helping me to learn that and to apply it to myself. Okay. If I couldn't share it with you, then I couldn't even do the first part of fulfilling my function. Of applying it to myself as well. And you guys have been so helpful in applying it to myself. You truly have. Every time I turn around, you guys are like telling me the truth, giving it to me, that what I gave to you. And that is why I do it. And I do need you just as much as you need me. Because what's my problem is that I haven't been applying it to myself. I've been making an exception of myself. And so when you give it back to me, it helps me to not exclude myself from the teaching that I've been offering to you. So truly, the distinction between teacher and student truly is nil, for real. Teacher and student only seem to be separate and different, but the truth is that they are of equal value in the learning process. Okay, I could not get it unless I gave it to you, and I could not receive it unless I received it from you. So the teacher and the learning are truly equal in the learning process. And that is the truth. And I am learning that as a facilitator and a student, and I am reminding you of that, you, teacher and healer for mankind. I appreciate you so much, more than I can say. So now I'm going to do a couple minutes of announcements, and then we're going to do the integration meditation. All right. So announcements are, I do 2 live streams a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And I had been on Mondays at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center in Denver, live and in person. I don't know how much longer I'll be doing that live and in person at the Miracle Center, just because of lockdown stuff and winter. Thank you. And but I will be doing 2 live streams from Miracle Park, if nothing else. So same time, same place, and beautiful. Deborah says, I always wanted to be a teacher. Yeah, Deborah, that's because you are. You wouldn't have had that desire if you truly weren't one. And anyone who wants to be healed is someone who needs to learn how to teach and to be a healer. That's what A Course in Miracles says. The Course in Miracles says if you want to be healed, you got to learn to heal. If you want to learn, then you got to teach. So I say, Deborah, go for it. Go for it. This whole curriculum is a manual for teachers. So you got the ultimate manual for being the teacher that you are being called upon to be, that you are, and the time is now. Time is now. All right. Now, on Wednesdays, same thing. I'm here at Miracle Park, like tonight, doing the Annotated Edition, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And Greg does a beautiful class here every Tuesday from Miracle Park, where he does a really beautiful synthesis of A Course in Miracles in the Bible. Facebook live stream, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And also, I am a holistic psychotherapist, and I have developed a psychotherapeutic niche called Miracle Psychotherapeutics, where I offer psychotherapeutic support to folks who are going through some kind of transition and could use some support, but from A Course in Miracles perspective, not from my perspective, not from the world of psychology's perspective, but from A Course in Miracles perspective. A Course in Miracles is the most profound, brilliant psychotherapeutic healing manual that I have ever come across, and I've been in this field all my life, for real. I mean, even since I was a kid. I was doing est and rebirthing and all kinds of stuff from the time I was a teenager. So I've been around the field of healing and psychotherapy for my whole life. And there's no better psychotherapeutic healing manual than A Course in Miracles. So if you are going through something where you could use some of this kind of deep, high-level transition support, just know that I offer that. I offer one-on-one sessions in that kind of psychotherapeutic support. And the best way to reach me is either to private message me on Messenger, or to go to my YouTube page, AnnaKujawa.com, find my phone number, it's somewhere on my website, and then text me. Text me, okay? That's the best way to reach me. Whew, all righty. Also, I'm all of my classes over the last many years, or not all of them, but most of them are on my YouTube channel. And I'm working on getting all of my classes over to YouTube. I'm also working toward the goal of being able to do YouTube live stream. So that's what I'm working toward. But I need 1,000 subscribers, and I have, I'm shy 40 subscribers. So if you would like to support my Miracles ministry, or the ministry of Miracle Park that Greg and I have here, then one way you can do that is to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. And that will enable me to go to YouTube Live sooner and be able to do more with our ministry from there. So don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Anna Kujawa, and my last name is spelled Kujawa, and share, like, and subscribe, and then that will help to support this Miracles ministry to extend more into the world that so needs these ideas for healing. The time is now. the teachers and healers of mankind are being called. And so whatever we can do to strengthen that call so that more teachers and healers of mankind hear that call and wake up to their holy function as ministers of healing in mankind, the better. The more that we can do toward that, the sooner that the earth is healed and humanity awakens. That's where it's at. That's what it's about. And the time is now. So thank you for liking and sharing and subscribing these videos, and also for sharing them. All right, so those are announcements. Now we're going to do the integration meditation. And we have indeed gone over 15 minutes over our usual class time. And so if you need to go on to do something else, you're totally innocent. Totally innocent. So now we're going to do the integration meditation, where we take the ideas and we use them. All right. Now, so what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes if you can. Don't do it if you're driving. Close your eyes, take a breath, and just breathe. Just breathe. How does it feel to hear these ideas in your mind, your body, your emotions? Just feeling what it feels like within you to hear these empowering, inspiring, healing ideas. Don't forget to breathe. All right. Now I want you to tell yourself something. I want you to tell yourself, I am the light of the world. And the healing of the world depends on me. And I am needed for the healing and awakening of mankind, whether I believe it or not. Tell yourself the truth, even if you don't believe it. And I want you to tell yourself, God has commended God's Spirit in to me. God has commended God's Spirit to me. The Spirit of God is within me. God has commended God's Spirit to me. Whatever I think about myself or have learned about myself, the truth is that God has commended God's Spirit to me. And just breathe that in. And then it says that God now asks that you commend your spirit to God. So let's do that. I commend my spirit to you, God. I commend my spirit to you. I give my spirit to you, God. I give my spirit back to you. I give my spirit back to you, God. You commended your spirit to me. I commend my spirit back to you. I commend my spirit to you, God, because I know you want to keep my spirit in perfect peace because our spirits are one. My peace is your peace. And I want you to hear your teacher through me telling you something. And I want you to listen. I want you to hear your teacher saying to you, you have taught well, teacher of God, healer of humanity. You have taught well. You have. And now it's time to stop excluding yourself from what you have taught. Stop leaving yourself out of what you are teaching to others. Stop leaving yourself out of the healing that you have been offering others. Recognize that it applies to you. You are only love. You deserve the correction of your mistakes right now completely. You are not your mistakes. You are not your past. You are entitled to the perfect correction of God of your mistakes that you made in the past. You didn't accept the truth for yourself in the past because you couldn't cope with that healing, but the time is now for you to accept your own healing. Include yourself in your teaching and your healing. The time is now. Healing is one. And breathe. Physician, heal thyself. Physician, apply the truth that you are giving to others to yourself. And breathe. And now I want you to hear something else that your teacher is saying to us, that our teacher is saying to us in this section. Hear your teacher speaking to you. I have made God's plan perfectly clear and perfectly explicit to you. The plan of the healing of mankind through you, through your extension of truth, through your extension of your healing to mankind. That's the plan for the healing of mankind. And also hear your teacher saying to you, I've also told you of your part in that plan for the healing of mankind. And hear your teacher saying to you, I have also explicitly told you how urgent it is that you fulfill your part in the healing plan of mankind. You fulfilling your part is urgent. The time is now. You can use your time to delay, but you don't have to. It's not necessary. The time is now. You have a part to play. Your part is crucial. It is urgent that you take your part. Stop excluding yourself from what you're giving to the world. You are not lost to God. You are not lost to God just because of your past. You are not lost to God just because of your mistakes. You are not lost to God. God needs you. God needs you. God needs you. God needs you. The world needs you. The world needs you. God needs you. God needs you. God loves you. The world needs you. The world needs you. You are not lost to God. God doesn't even see your errors. And God has given you the perfect correction for all your mistakes, all your temptations to exclude yourself from the love you are giving to others. And breathe. Learn the inevitability of self-inclusion. Physician, heal thyself. And breathe. Beautiful. All right. Way to heal, mighty companions. Way to take your part in the healing of mankind. The time is now. You are needed, and the time is now. You have taught well, and now you include yourself. I appreciate you so much. I need you as much as you need me. Salvation is a collaborative venture, and I will see you next time I see you. May peace extend from my mind to yours.